So I really want to thank Rabbi Ben Zaken for his introduction, for his hospitality, for his friendship, for his scholarship. Toda Rabba. And for the opportunity that we have to have this shiur tonight. It's true, I know it's the time, not the perfect time, but I was already in Phoenix and San Francisco, and I'm going to go back home through here and maybe connect with friends. And I want to speak about this this issue of how we perceive halacha and how we perceive the purpose of Judaism. Because for many people, I'm sure you know that, when they think about observance of halacha, it is associated with the concept of sacrifice or suffering or difficulty. And when you ask, do you enjoy being a Jew? What is the positive side of being a Jew? They said, oh, it's tough being a Jew. It's not easy. And we're willing to do it despite all the difficulties. And I think that there's truth in it, but also there is some kind of something of the message is being missed when you pass it on to the next generation, because maybe people want to hear something a little different. They want to hear more of the positive. So I want to look at the general picture of what the Torah has to offer to us. If someone asks me, why should I follow the Torah? Why should I follow the system of Torah, Mitzvot, Judaism? What does it have to offer to me? So I wanted to come to it from the point of view of psychology and a movement or a theory within psychology called positive psychology that originally was proposed by different psychologists. Some people contest exactly who said what when, but one of them who became famous is Abraham Maslow. In the 1940s, he wrote about that, and he believed that instead of treating everything that we have as a disease, every problem that we have as every desire or character of the human being as a disease, we have to look at the positive traits of the human nature, of soul, and to think what is it that we need and what is it that we give each other as humans. And he created this hierarchy that not necessarily always comes in that order. Sometimes it overlaps, but definitely the level bottom starts there. And this is what he describes. He says the basis of necessity of what everybody needs is survival. Right? You need warmth, you need food, you need shelter, you need sleep, water, air, all these things. Right? Basic needs. You need that. If you don't have that, you cannot live. So those are the basic needs, the physical needs of a human being that we have to have in order to survive. The next level is security and safety. We need to know that we live in a secure place, that we are protected from other humans. People are not going to break into our house. We are protected from animals, protected from diseases, from disasters. There are a million things that we worry about and also give us ulcers. But we want to make sure that we're safe, that we're in a safe environment. So that's the next level that we need. After we have that, we have the physical needs and we have the safety and security. We need friendship. We need society. With social connection, the greatest punishment that is given to prisoners is solitary confinement, to break their spirit. For people to be isolated from others, to be singled out, peer pressure, all these things have to do with the importance of society, of being connected. Next level is self-worth. The self-esteem, to know that you're worth something and to be appreciated. That is also an important thing. And it's after you have all the basic needs, to sail through life is not enough to know that you have food, and you have where to put your head, and that you're safe, and even that you have friends, but that you yourself, you count, and that you can contribute to society, and that you're important. And on top of all that is the concept of purpose. You have to have a purpose in life. You have to know, you have to feel, one has to feel there's something greater than the self towards which you strive. That's where you want to get. There's something that you're going to do that maybe is going to survive you, that's going to go to the next generation, that's greater than yourself. Not always it's a positive thing. For some people, that cause could be destructive. For some people, they will be remembered by destroying humanity. And it's easier to destroy than to build. The greatest conquerors and tyrants and dictators also came from that point of view of cause. What is my cause in life? I want to destroy others. But there's also the more common you see the positive engine. I want to do things in order to benefit others or to create something in the world which is worthwhile. So these are very briefly, basically that concept. I thought how can people remember it easily, and I thought that you could use sort of not an acronym but a sentence that would be I need a safe friend and a worthy cause. So I need physical needs, safety, security, friendship, and a worthy cause, self-worth and self-esteem, and a cause for which we strive. So when he presented this theory, it was accepted, people followed it, but then after a while it was contested, and people said that the trials that were conducted were not scientific enough, and then the other trials were conducted later on, and they said, it is, you know what, I think that there's a good reason why the person who first presented that was Jewish. I think that he looked around and observed society and also understood the Torah, and even if he was not observing, but the cumulative tradition that comes together is something that for him illuminated how we behave. And I think it's true when you look at our life and our society, there's something that is clearly visible, that we need all these things. So maybe not in that order, maybe not in his system, but I think that all these things are the framework of the Torah. And that is why we Jews find the Torah fascinating, because it provides us with all these needs. If you follow the Torah, put aside for a moment that system of halachic detail and fear and the sense of guilt that people have. Maybe I did something wrong and God is going to smite me. Put those things aside. And think for a second of what are the most important messages of the Torah and how they fit within this system, right? The hierarchy of values. So let's start with the basic, right? Physical needs. We all need food, shelter, and sleep, right? We need that. We need air. The Torah and the Tanakh emphasize the importance of helping others and providing them with all their needs. We'll start with the Nevi'im in Yeshayahu, Isaiah chapter 58. The Navi says, "Ki tir'eh arom v'chisito u'mibsarecha lo tit'alam. Az yizrach kashem orecha v'aruchatcha katzoraim." Says, you know who's the true righteous man? Don't come to the synagogue and put on tefillin. He says, you want to fast, come to the synagogue, cry out to me, tear your clothes, and say, why we fasted, you didn't see us. God says, I don't see you when you do that. That I don't care about that. Correct your ways, amend your ways. In what way? It says, Ki tir'eh arom v'chisito. When you see a naked person, provide him with clothes. Halo paros la'ra'av lachamecha. You have food, someone else doesn't have food, share it with him. Va'aniyim merudim tavi bayit. Bring the poor into your house. And that goes back to the Torah. Think about the Torah. In the middle of the parasha that speaks about the Shlosha Regalim. Come to the Bet HaMikdash on Pesach, on Shavuot, on Sukkot. You celebrate with your children, with your family, with your friends. The Torah stops in the middle. It says, don't forget, la'ani, la'ger, la'evyon asher b'sh'arecha. The poor, the needy, the sojourner, the weaker layers of society. Don't forget them. You're celebrating, you're happy, you have joy, share it with them. Give them food. The laws of protection that the Torah has, protecting the poor, protecting the needy, whether it's in the judicial system, whether it's the ma'asor, the idea of giving 10% to the poor. That's part of it. No one is going to go to sleep hungry. That's not an invention of the United States in the 21st century. No kid left behind. That is an invention of the Torah. The Torah said everybody should have food. Everybody should have education. Veshinantam levanecha. Those are not the immediately physical needs that are mentioned, but the idea of equality, that everybody deserves that. Everybody should learn Torah. The first system of public schools in the ancient world was established in Israel in the 2nd century. Shimon ben Gamla establish a system of public schools, because it's not fair that only those who have will be able to teach their children, whether they have money to hire tutors or whether they're capable of teaching. Everybody should have access to Torah. So that idea of equality through the system of the Torah, the mitzvot, the ma'asrot, you give the 10% to the poor, you take care of the needy, you never let someone go hungry. We open our doors. Until today, on Pesach, we say, Kol dichfin etevei chol. Okay, today maybe not so much in our community, thank God. People have. But sometimes this, and we'll see later, this kafan, this hunger is a spiritual hunger. It's a social hunger, and we also provide for it. You go to the kotel in Yerushalayim Friday night, you didn't make any arrangements, you don't know where to eat. All you have to do is walk back from tefillah and look a little lost. Someone will come to you. He said, well, you have where to eat? No, come, fadal. Come to my house. Happened to me. I said, you know what, I don't know, I have good food at home, but let me stop here first. This is how we're trained, and this also, in an interesting way, brought about the survival of the Jewish community. That's a model that does not exist in any other nation. Any other nation that migrated eventually broke apart and disappeared. You have pockets here, pockets there. But the story of the Jewish people that lives for 2,000 years in diaspora and then comes back to Eretz Yisrael, and then where did it come from? Part of it was from the understanding that the community is responsible for providing the needs of the individual. So wherever the Jews went, a lonely Jew comes to a place, he says, okay, what do I do now? The Hachamim said, based on the Torah, we need to have a school, we need to have a mikveh, we need to have a shohet. We need also to have a charity fund for the poor to provide food, shelter, clothes. So if you were traveling, you come to another community, you don't have anything, you come to the synagogue, can you help me? You want to live in town? Okay, let's set you up. Live here, eat this, work here. They create this modular society, modular community that cares for each other. Wherever people went, their basic needs were answered. So that's the first level. And also, the Torah did not promote the idea that is prevalent in Christianity: the meek shall inherit the earth. Even though it's from the Tehillim, Anavim yirshu aretz v'yeshvu la'ad aleh. Anavim yirshu aretz, the humble people shall inherit the earth. That's true. Humility is not poverty. The Torah does not promote poverty. The idea that you have to denounce all your belongings, this is not something the Torah says. Torah says, you want to be wealthy? Why not? But share your wealth with others. Share your goodness with others. And that also is an engine of growth, because when you give, and you give it with a purpose, you want to give more. How do you give more? You make more. And you're prompted to constantly produce in a good way and give to others. That's an idea that recently, maybe the last 10 years, was analyzed by a behavioral psychologist that became a professor of economy in Wharton School of Finance. Adam Grant has a book called Give and Take. And when I read this book, and now I'm reading his second book called Originals, also very interesting, I read this book and said, wow, this is the system of the Torah. Because he explains that giving is an engine of growth. When you give for the purpose of giving others, you eventually succeed and prosper. But of course, you have to have in mind, you're not giving them in order to succeed, because then it's selfish. You give them because you really want to give them. And that's what the Torah does with us. So that's the first level. Second level is the idea of safety and security. Right? So how does Torah provide us with a sense of safety and security? So of course, there's the physical safety and security. Torah legislate whatever has to do with robbery and theft and burglary and physical damages, etc., etc. But the real safety and security that we have wherever we live comes from honesty and transparency. If you live in a country with a corrupt government, you don't feel safe. Rabbi Ben Zakir mentioned that I lived in Colombia, South America. I lived in Colombia for a while. And I saw that, I've experienced that firsthand. The first time that I was driving in Bogota with a friend, a local guide who told me how to ride. So I'm driving, and I made a U-turn in an illegal place, which really nobody cares over there, unless there's a cop who still has to make his daily income. So he flags me down. I pull over, and he tells me that okay. I show him the papers. My friend's like, give him something. Okay, I didn't know. So I pull out 1,000 pesos, which is about $1, and I give it to him, and he's like, oh my God, we found an honest cop, right? And my friend again says, do it discreetly, like not through the window. So I take his pad, and I put his clipboard, and I put the money between the ticket, and then I give it back to him, and he looks, and he's like, mi compañera tampoco ha comido hoy. Like, my partner didn't eat breakfast today either. So I take it back with another 1,000 pesos, not dollars, and I give it back to him. I said, wow, this is nice, you could drive, whatever happens, 1,000 pesos here, 1,000 pesos there, it's worth it. But then you realize it's not worth it, because the crime, the corruption, when you have a situation where smugglers or narcos, everybody tells me, you have to watch Narcos. I says, I don't want to watch Narcos because I lived that. I lived through that. I don't want to watch it. But we had a situation where, and until today it's not clear why a plane has crashed in Bogota with people from my community and other travelers. More than 100 people were killed. Most probably it was because the drug lords were landing their plane very, very closely to another plane so it would not show on the radar, right? And that was done with the corroboration of officials and all that. So when you could buy the lowliest officer, you could also buy the top officer. That's where you know you're not safe, you're not secure. The Torah fights that. The Torah says and insists on honesty and transparency. If you look throughout the Tanakh, the people who are being singled out are the hypocrites. The biggest hypocrite maybe in Torah is Korah. And Moshe singles him out. If you think of who is the person for whom the greatest punishment was solicited, it's Korah. Because Moshe says, Im beri'ah yivra Hashem ufatzeta adama et piyah. It says, now if those people are not speaking the truth, let the earth open its mouth and swallow them. And you look at this, why is Moshe getting so upset? All the other things, they do the idols, the golden calf, they go against God. Moshe says, oh, forgive them. They're nice people. They're not so bad. Is it because they offended him? Some people say that, because it was his own kavod, his own honor. I don't think so. What happened was, the Moshe exposed their hypocrisy. Because they come to Moshe, and they say, Kol ha'ida kulam kedoshim, ובתוכם אדוני, ומדוע תתנשאו על קהל אדוני? We're all holy. God is with us. Why do you take first place? We don't need a leader. Basically, they said we don't need a leader. מדוע תתנשאו? We don't need a leader. We want a communist religious society. Everybody's equal. Everybody is a rabbi or a Moroccan synagogue, right? My synagogue also. It's everybody has the right to say and to lead, right? Okay, that's what we want. So Moshe says, okay, you know what? I have a test for you. Tomorrow, bring your pens with incense, with ketoret, and stand in front of God. And v'haya ha'ish asher yivhar Adonai hu hakadosh Rav Lachem ben Levi. That would be very simple. The one elected by God, right? That's the best voting system, right? No voter fraud, nothing like that. God shows you right away. The one that his incense on his pen will start burning is the one. Beautiful. What they should have said was, no. What do you mean? We said no leaders. We're all equals. What did they do? Oh yeah, tomorrow we're all there. I want to be the leader. He says, you're hypocrites. All you want to do is to be in control, to oppress the people, and to take advantage of them. And because of that, the punishment is solicited. In the 10 Commandments, there are 2 commandments that are dedicated to transparency and to honesty. One is Lo tisai et Shem Hashem Elohecha lashav. What is Lo tisai et Shem Hashem? Do not say Hashem's name in vain. In today's halacha, this concept has been so diluted that people, all they think is, do I say Hashem, Adonai, Amonai, Adoshem, Should I say the Bachash? That's not the point. God doesn't care if you say His name all day long. It means not to make Hashem's name cheap and worthless, because then you'll say it with no meaning behind it. To carry Hashem's name in vain means to come dressed as a cleric, as a rabbi, as a priest, as an imam, I don't know what. And to say, because I'm a man of faith, you have to believe me. That's what he said, Shem Hashem Elohecha Lashal. That's someone who pretends to be religious, but is not religious. And people trust him because of religion. There's an inner trust that people give to people because they convey. And that's why, by the way, religious communities succeed in business. The diamond merchants of the Hasidic community is because they have this inner trust. They don't have to pay extra securities and insurance because they trust each other to not cheat because they're all religious. And that's why when one of them does that, everybody freaks out. It's also something, a study that has been done by psychologists, by economists. Religion lends people some air of honesty. That's on one side of the Ten Commandments. The second side says, Lo ta'aneh bere'acha ha'et shaker. You cannot bear false testimony against your friend. That is depriving another person from the right to justice. The Torah says, and Hashem says, I will personally take care of that person who distorts justice, who gives bribe, who is dishonest, who is corrupt. And that also has been proven by sociologists, by behavioral psychologists, when they try to figure out what is the role of religion in modern society, and what was the role of religion according to evolution. That's a riddle for them, because religion doesn't sit well with evolution, because evolution is the survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest means that you have to be lean and mean. Don't waste your resources. Don't spend efforts and energy of something that gives you nothing. Now, walk around town and look at the synagogues, look at the churches, look at mosques. Look how much money people spend on all those religious structures. New York City, like St. Patrick Cathedral. Really, the real estate, the property, or the Vatican, the property the Vatican has, yes, they care for the poor. They give here, they give there. Let them sell all their possessions and give it to the poor. They will solve at least the problem of one country, maybe Italy, maybe neighboring country, right? Or more. Everybody says more. Why? So the evolutionists don't understand that. What is the role of religion? The answer comes from trying to look at societies that have no God. And they had the model to study that with communes that flourished in America in the 18th and 19th century. There were many societies trying to build communal societies, that they have their own rules, they share resources, etc. And they found out that all of them eventually disappeared, but there was a difference in the life expectancy of those communes. The communes that were based only on social values died faster than those which were based on religious values. Because, and the reason, and this comes from, like I said, sociologists and economists, not from rabbis, not from clerics. They say that when God is in the picture, that fear of the Almighty God, the omnipotent, omniscient God who knows what you're doing, prevents people from embezzling each other, from behaving in a corrupt manner. All these things that are behind the scenes, the freeloaders that destroy society, do not exist. Now, of course, you'll say, but we know of some religious people who are corrupt, right? First, they're not religious. Second, had they not been born into a religious society and know the value of Torah, they would probably be much worse criminals. This is, when you see the religious embezzler, that's after getting the medicine, right? That's him being calmed down. If not, it would be a much more dangerous criminal. So the Torah grants us this safety and security by knowing that if someone really behaves according to religious moral code, he will be honest and he will be trustworthy. Now, the next three levels fit perfectly into the golden rule. Those are the basics. The golden rule is ve'ahavta le're'acha kamocha. Love the others, you love yourself. And usually people think of it, especially in America, because of what they call the Judeo-Christian civilization or mentality, along the same lines of when someone hits you, turns the other cheek, or don't do unto others what is not what you don't want people to do to you, which was the phrasing of Rabbi Akiva, that he had to go to the negative because he realized it's too difficult for people to do the positive. He says, let's start with not doing bad things unto others. But look at this rule. 3 words, 3 concepts. There are 3 concepts here. One is ahava, love. The other one is re'acha, friendship. And the third one is kamocha, which is you, which means self-esteem. Because it says you have to love others as you love yourself. What if you don't love yourself? What if your idea of loving yourself is banging your head in the wall? Some people like it. They're masochists. Okay, I like causing pain to myself. So I like doing it so much. Let me do it to you as well. Come, you'll enjoy it. Right? Torah says, no, that's not... okay, that's an extreme example. But what if one's idea of joy and fun is to deride himself? I'm worthless. I'm nothing. I'm zero. I'm miserable. His friends come over. What do you think of me? You're miserable. You're nothing. Why are you telling me? No, it's good. That's what I like saying. Right? So it doesn't work. So when the Torah says ve'ahavta le'acha kamocha, that is part of it. But re'acha, friendship, is there. In the Ten Commandments again, you look at what the Ten Commandments highlight for us. Those are the values of the family. Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha. Honor your father and mother. The family is the first unit that provides you with companionship, with friendship. But also, Shabbat. Because the Torah says, why do you do Shabbat? Le'ma'an yanuach bincha u'vitcha ve'avdecha ve'amatecha ve'ager. Everybody should rest with you. That's where you create the sense of society. Later on, based on these values, we created the idea of community. People come to the synagogue. People belong to a community to find friendship. When they are in harsh moments, difficult times in life, they come to the synagogue. People who know them, comfort them. We create that idea of society, of community. Torah says this is part of our life. And here, the ve'ahavta le're'acha kamocha says you have to secure that friendship. We need that companionship. And it's highlighted in another interesting statement in Kohelet that a lot of people know through a popular Israeli song, Tovim hashnayim min ha'echad. 2 are better than 1. The Israelis who know it from Heyoya, but then they say Tovim hashnayim min ha'echad, right? So Tovim hashnayim min ha'echad, 2 are better than 1. We all agree on that, right? That's a beautiful statement. The problem is that Shlomo HaMelech explained it. And the explanation seems to take away from it. Because he explained, why are 2 better than 1? He says, Shilo echad sheyipol en mi sheikimenu. If 1 falls, there's no one there to pull him up. But if there are 2, his friend will pull him up. And you read this, and you say, wait a second. Shlomo is the wisest of all men. This is your explanation? This is like a first grade, or maybe kindergarten. This is what the kid will say. Why is it good to have a friend? My friend will help me. No, this is what are you saying? Shlomo HaMelech says 2 are better than 1 because 1 will pull the other. It doesn't make sense. So it took me a while to understand that based on observation and running into different people. And I realized that this is what Shlomo HaMelech says. We all have certain ideals and dreams and goals, and sometimes you have 2 people have the same exact goal, but for different reasons. So let's take for an example 2 people who decide to become doctors, and they want to be surgeons, the top of their profession, right? And they both succeed; they're top of the class. But they have different. They are motivated by different reasons. One of them wants to be the best doctor, to be famous, to be wealthy, to be respected, to be remembered. All selfish reasons. The other one wants to become a doctor so he could help the needy. He already decides to join Doctors Without Borders or something like that without any political implications. I'm just to give an example. But he wants to help the needy or do a research or something that will be a breakthrough and will save lives. And this is his goal. Now, unfortunately, after their graduation, top of the class, they are both involved in an accident. And they wake up with the news that they lost their ability to perform surgeries. If anyone saw the movie Doctor Strange, I didn't watch it because I don't watch movies, but a friend who watched told me that there's a goy for movies that gives me all the information. So this Doctor Strange is a surgeon who only takes the most complicated cases, but only those that he knows he will be able to take care of, and the patient will not die. If it's too dangerous, he doesn't want because it's going to hurt his resume. If it's too simple, he's not going to take it, and that's what he does. And then he has this accident. I mean, I had this analogy years ago, and then my friend watched the movie and told me, so this is exactly what happens to him, and he's devastated. He cannot perform surgeries anymore. He wants to commit suicide. There's nothing for him to live for, because all his life were dedicated to that, and now he cannot do that, and it's too late to start again on a new path that will give him this wealth and fame, right? Yet the other person who had the same situation will be depressed for a while and will be devastated for a while, but then you'll see that person picking up and continuing. Why? Because he knows that he must help other people. And he will tell himself, if I cannot do it this way, I will do it that way. I will have to. So who pulls him out eventually? The knowledge that there are other people out there. So when Shlomo HaMelech says, Tovim Hashnayim min ha'echad, it means that it's better to live an altruistic life when you know that there are people around you and when you work for them, than to live a selfish life when you are the center of the universe. Because when you're the center of the universe, when that universe collapses, there's no one there to pull you up. When others are the center of the universe, no matter what happens to you, you always pull yourself up because you know that someone out there needs me. That is the hidush, that is the new idea that Shlomo HaMelech presents us with. And then, from there we move to the next level, which is self-worth and self-esteem. So we know that people around us, we need friendship, we need companionship, and self-esteem seems to be the easiest thing that we could give to our children. Yet, I think it's one of the most difficult things for people to give. We're getting better at this. I think the modern society is getting a little better at that. But it used to be very difficult. And maybe because it's so important, a good word and a genuine show of love and of respect is something that a lot, maybe specifically, our generations, the generation of my parents and their parents, who lived through very harsh times and didn't have much time for love and, for stroking them and say, you're great and you're wonderful. And so when their children come in and ask for a good word or love or praise, they will say, you know what? When I was your age, I had to walk miles to get a good word. But that is really the importance. That's what Torah says, "Ve'ahavta le'reacha kamocha," that the importance of connecting of the importance of giving a child the understanding that he is loved. You do it through love, through appreciation, through a good word. It doesn't mean that we forgive and we accept everything. It doesn't mean that no matter what the child does, you say, "Oh, honey, beautiful, it's amazing. Oh, you broke the window, we love it. We needed some air at home." No, you have to have boundaries, but the one of the common mistakes the parents do is that they want to direct their children and tell them what to do and what is the best thing for them. In other words, they want to live vicariously through their children. They want whatever they weren't able to achieve, they want their child to achieve. Or they think that only what they achieved that's the only possible goal. And that is where they tell the kids, you must do that. And when the kid comes back and it's not the perfect score, they are going to be rebuked, they are going to be criticized, you're not good enough. You cannot believe how many people I talk to who say, we didn't get this kind of appreciation from our parents. And you cannot believe even until what age it still hurts people. I know of a case of someone whose mother was ailing, and that woman was already a grandmother herself. And she desperately tried in the last year of her mother's life to get a good word from her, to see that she's worth something. And it's easy to give. It's easy to let someone feel that they're important. That's the best gift that you could give anyone. In the levels of charity that Rambam mentions, he mentioned different levels of charity that we could give each other. He says the highest level is not giving charity, not giving money, but rather teaching someone a profession and giving him the ability to follow with this profession. So what he says is not give someone a fish and you'll feed him for one day, teach him to fish and you feed him for life. It's not about for how long you feed him. It's about a paradigm shift. His whole perception of life changes. And then I saw personally a personal example with my grandfather, Hacham Shaul Fetaya, who with my mother opened at a certain in the was the late 1970s. He opened a occupational rehabilitation center in Yerushalayim, which back then was groundbreaking. Nobody did that. And that they had facilities for people with mental and physical disabilities for what they call occupational therapy. They sit and do like little menial jobs just to pass the time. And his idea with my mother, who worked at Social Security, was we want to teach people a job, and even if we give them silly things that was in time, like putting paper into envelopes before you had machines for that, we'll pay them for that. And I, as a kid, I was 12 years old, and I would go and give those boxes with envelopes and letters to put them in, or pencils, put 10 pencils in a box to people who were bedridden or had some mental illness. I would give them the boxes and come later on to collect them and give them the check, which was really a trivial amount. But the joy that they had when they regained this respect and dignity was unbelievable. And the motto of my grandfather when he started that was a pasuk from Yov. It was this: it says, my maker made him as well, and he created us in the same womb. Just as I crave dignity and respect, so that person deserves it as well. And finally, the last and most important level is that of a cause and purpose in life. And that is something that Judaism has introduced to the world at all levels, at the individual and national, communal, global level. The idea of redemption. Not redemption just in the sense of Biat HaMashiach, but the whole historical perspective that we take for granted. Today we understand history. We have our past, we have a goal. That was introduced to the world by the Jews, by the Torah. The Torah keeps talking about history. Zechor yomot olam, binu shenot dor vador. Remember the years of yore. Talk to your elders. Let them teach you. The famous historian Paul Johnson wrote a book about the history of the Jewish people. And he understood very well that he's not Jewish. He understood very well the Jewish people in our history. And he says that when the Greeks encountered the Jews, they didn't understand them. They didn't respect what the Jews had to offer. And he says the gift that the Jews had to give them was the gift of history. Because we always knew that we had a beginning, a noble beginning of the forefathers, a decline into slavery in Egypt, a rise again, and as we went through those vicissitudes later on, like going up and down, we always kept in mind that we could reach a better future. We always strive for a better future. If you ask yourself, how come the state of Israel today is doing what it's doing? So yes, the Startup Nation is a beautiful book and you should read it, but it's built on thousands of years of Jewish education. Because Torah always taught us there is redemption. You redeem yourself, you redeem the world. Moshe is a redeemer. Yehoshua is a redeemer. The Nevi'im are redeemers. Everyone that we look in our history was able to redeem the Jewish people from a certain situation and move on. And that was, for us, in modern times, after the Holocaust, people could have sunk into total depression, quit everything. Instead, they got up and they built the state of Israel. And you have an army. And when you take Israeli soldiers who go and visit the death camps, and they are descendants of those same Holocaust survivors, you tell yourself that here is our redemption. So we don't dwell only on the suffering that we have, we dwell on the cause that we have. The cause of the Jews, what was it eventually? It was Tikkun Olam. It was making the world a better place. Because the Torah never speaks about Olam Haba. You realize that? We believe in Olam Haba, we believe in the world, in the afterlife, we believe in the coming of Mashiach, but that's not what the Torah is all about. The Torah never mentions that, because the Torah doesn't want us to live after death. The Torah wants us to live now, to correct and make this world better. And if it's done through teaching, if it's done through medical innovation, through research, through technology, so be it. So every Jew that has created and contributed to the embetterment of world society, whether he or she perceive themselves as religious or not, as atheists, they could call themselves whatever they want. But at the end of the day, they sit on the shoulders of thousands of generations who followed the rules of the Torah. So that is, in my opinion, in a nutshell, I mean, it was a big nutshell, but if we want to sum it up, the Maslow's rule are, I need a safe friend and a worthy cause, about physical needs, safety, friendship, self-esteem, and a purpose. All of them are in the Torah. No other system has it so beautifully and so wholesomely as the Torah has it. So now that we have it, we have to really own it. And Rabbi Ben Zakkai mentioned before, I write about halacha, and people sometimes ask, why are you trying to be lenient here or lenient there, or there are other options? He said, first of all, I don't give people a final rule. I give options. And all these options exist within halakha. And they should exist within halakha, because we understand that the purpose of the Torah is to give us joy. And if someone lives his life as a Jew and feels that he's suffering or sacrificing, then something is wrong. And I want people to be able to analyze and understand our halakha and our history and our literature and see how they get there with a sense of joy and exhilaration. That when someone asks you, how is it to be a Jew, you say it's the most wonderful thing that you can ever imagine. And you should try it also. So, thank you.